sosiale medier I dag, går ofte kvalitetsinnhold ubemerket. På Den.Social blir brukere betalt for å skape, evaluere og sørge for kvalitetsinnhold. Innholdsskapere blir belønnet basert på engasjementet og rekkevidden innlegget eller kommentaren deres får. Evaluering av innhold blir belønnet basert på hastighet og presisjon I forhold til hva som kommer til å trende og gå viralt. Eiere av fellesskap blir belønnet basert på engasjementet I sitt fellesskap. På Den.Social blir kvalitetsinnhold belønnet.
What's up, denizens? We have another DENDAO meeting today. It is Thursday, July 7th, 2022. We do these every week on Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time. And it is an open meeting for anyone who has discussion about Den.Social or questions about the updates and what's coming and what's past and all of that. So we're here. We've got already with us, we've got Lisa Mighty Davis, Greg from Rivet, and I Am for I Am, who's been pitching in quite a lot. It looks like some additional artwork has been created on I Am for I Am's part over there. So thanks for that, sir.
You're welcome.
We have a modest DAO agenda today, which is great. So we can just do kind of a check-in on everybody. And then see if there's, any discussion that can be brought beyond it. So there's real quick, we've got a link at the top of this. Let me share my screen here. Where'd it go? Is it not working? Try it again. There it goes. It told me it was there, but it was a lie. So in the DENDAO layer on Den, you'll see a link at the top to join the call. If you click that, you will join us here and just send us a message in private chat so we know that you're ready to go and we'll pull you up to talk. So with that said, there's a quick announcement about HODL Signal, one of our incoming, let's see, it's a layer I was talking about on Coffee this week about how you might start to see some business layers pop up doing some cool stuff. So do check out what they have put over in the airdrops layer because they are doing an airdrop that involves Den and it involves 250 other blockchains. So if you have ever interacted and you've got, like I know in my case, I've got a bunch of shit coins just from gambling and, Vegas internet money. And so they're kind of reaching out saying, hey, anybody who's been playing with this stuff, let's do something real. If you have stuff, let's do it. So check that out. There's more information about it in the announcement there. And right before I got on this call, I noticed that on one of our World Blockchain shows, we had Jay from the Eden World game, NFT game project. And so pretty cool. They're at the end of the episode, we soloed all the co-hosts and they were able to cut that out as some promo for Eden, and that's doing some interesting numbers on Twitter. So go add some fuel to that fire. I think that we'll see some more of that on Den because I plan on using that game to build a digital garden in the metaverse kind of deal. So I just wanted to point those out real quick and nice. And then come back around to the top again. So how's it going, everybody? How you doing? And what are you thinking about lately in regards to Den and stuff like that? Anybody?
I'm doing good. I've actually as you're talking about some of this, I know the firearms layer recently went live, and I was excited about that. And thank you guys for helping me figure out how to kind of the way the layers are set up. We went over really quickly. If anybody doesn't know, you have to join the layer. You have to scroll through them so it shows the ones that you're currently subscribed to. Then you have to scroll down to the bottom. And then you'll find the rest of them that are newly created. So anyway, that was a little difficult for me.
Yeah, so the interface could be touched up on that, I would say.
So that might be something that we propose to work on. But I was also thinking about some projects that I'm working on, and maybe instead of creating a business model where you own something or own a business, where you create more of a community, and then people participate and are rewarded for participating in growing the community and using Den in that.
That'd be
creating
fantastic.
a layer and using that. So I really want to kind of flesh that out with you guys sometime.
Yeah, we could even have some initial, we've done in the past, usually when Joe's here, because he's more of an architect than I am, I think, but we can hash things out, initial design concept, just to see if it would work for what you're thinking of today, if you want. Or we can catch up on it later, because I'm always available for that. And there's a lot of flexibility with that too. I think it's a good idea. If it works out for, if it works out for your goals, then yeah, by all means, we're down.
Yeah, I'm really curious if it would work, because we're trying to figure out just the best model for something. Well, we're doing something with, we want it to work for the nonprofit, but we also want to have a business side of it. But we're doing something for to help women, have a sense of freedom by being personally responsible for your heart, mind, body, and your wallet. And so we're trying to teach financial freedom, but responsibility through all that stuff, and then boundaries. And we're trying to partner with some different groups on that. So I'm wondering if we could use Den and create a layer and then have the community build. And so as people joined and participated, you could have experts come in, and they kind of like we do the show on World Blockchain Roundtable, you get so much lot or whatever. So you would be rewarded for participating or bringing value to the layer.
It's an interesting model, isn't it?
Right?
Because I'm doing that too with a different project that's starting up over in the cannabis layer, and I'm like, it's been working well enough with World Blockchain Roundtable, that model, where I'm just doing that again, and then we'll tune it, kind of like build the plane while it's flying, and see if there's any tweaks or anything, because it'll be differences between how that show is run versus whatever. But yeah, that's great. Especially that's a good time to throw in a reminder about the different types of layers we have, because for example, and I'll bring the firearms layer back up.
Sure.
And since we're doing tips, that's what we should do. We should do tips with Lisa. And so since we're doing tips, one of them is I have an account right now that I'm logged into that has not subscribed to the firearms layer. So if you are going in here for the first time, this is not even part of what I was going to say, but you have to subscribe to it before you can post. And then once you do, you might have noticed just now a little blue arrow popped up, and now you can actually have that button. So some of the buttons, if you can't figure it out, it might just not be there because you're not subscribed to it or something like that. But more importantly, the firearms layer was a community, just kind of like a global, like, hey, who wants to vote on this? And it has whatever the end of the voting round was when it won. It captured, that many votes, and then that was came out to 3.4 million ownership tokens for that layer. They can be swapped and tipped and traded out and stuff like that. If you come in with a business layer, so this is the 3.4 million permanently for firearms. The business layers, you can have complete customization over that and control. So you can actually mint them on the fly as you need to dip them out, or you can, if you have a reason to increase the supply later, you can, or if you want to restrict who has them in the beginning, you can do it without having to have people that you don't know as owners in the beginning. So we can do any kind of customization you want on that for sure. So let's definitely meet up on that.
Yeah, because then even the participants could be earning their for participating as well. We're wanting it to be some kind of model where, as you participate and grow and, learn these skills to be financially responsible, and learning these skills about, emotional boundaries, and learning these skills, about physical protection, yourself protection, making those choices for yourself, all of that, whether it's 2A or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or, self-defense classes, whatever that is for you. All of whatever those are, kind of, as you kind of get your, Girl Scout badges or whatever that looks like. Then at the end of that, you're able to almost then pay that forward to someone else who needs to start that journey. And so trying to start that kind of renewing model where with this, you wouldn't be like in debt. You wouldn't have to pay to start the journey. It's
Right.
like you would pay
And that's
and
key.
leave with value.
Yeah, or clout, or reputation, or
knowledge.
knowledge. And you were talking about, I like the way that you relate that to Girl Scout badges, because one of the things in our DAO prioritization vote is something called denizen flags. Now, this has been kind of gone through a couple of different molding exercises to see how it's going to show up and be framed and stuff. And that'll be finalized once it wins the prioritization vote at some point. But something with that is, like, part of that is basically what you're talking about with badges, right? Okay. So if somebody can get a badge, like between, okay, so here's what I'm saying, I guess, between this one and then we just did some what is it called? The smart tags was like smart contract integration. So we could do badges where depending on a certain criteria or reputation, you would get a certain badge saying, like, I got this. I know how to. I know gun safety, basic gun safety, and I got a badge. Right. So then somebody could DM that denizen because they have a, like the community has said, oh yeah, this person's pretty good at that. Right. And then
kind of like e-learning approved, and then plus the like belts in martial arts or something.
Oh yeah, are you a fighter?
I just started. Yeah,
awesome.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
I was a white belt when I was a teenager, or preteen, I guess. So counts for something, right? I did have to upgrade from a no belt, so there is that.
There you go. You got to start somewhere.
You start exactly. Yeah. I got back into it in my 50s. I was hardcore in my teens and 20s.
Very cool.
So yeah, I think that's exactly what Den's built for. So let's do that.
Well, a couple interesting parallels. Like recently, the Cult DAO group launched the Revolt to Earn token, which is basically like a way. What it is you make a proposal that says, I did this to help promote the DAO or the mission of the DAO, and the community votes on rewarding that person for doing the mission. So like, it could be something like that where where a some kind of proof of activity relevant to forwarding the goals of your DAO idea, Lisa, is posted, and then people can vote to reward it with.
Yeah.
And
then the community validates that.
Right. That's what I was kind of thinking.
That's really cool.
Similar to the way that, like, I don't know if you've used LinkedIn, but there's this concept of just community validation of skill sets, where people can say, yep, I worked with this person, and yep, they're a good organizer, or nope, that's bullshit, but it's like, so if we do something similar on Den, the other thing that immediately makes me think of is the DM system that we have, because the marketplace for knowledge and brain power, if you can identify let's say there's a consensus-based Girl Scout badging system where you can earn badges for like no central entity has to organize the criteria for that necessarily. You absolutely could, but if you have a consensus-based badging system where you get community wisdom on who's the best resource for what topics or whatever, then let's say that person gets insanely popular because they know a lot about a particular thing, and they get spammed with DMs all the time because people are asking them for information and this and stuff. Our DMs have a way to basically add a fee to when you try to DM somebody, to bump your DM up higher on the list. Like if you want to skip the line to get answered or something, right? So you can actually
parking that we
this kind of like very similar to that.
Rockstar parking. You want Rockstar DM Vantage? Then go for it.
And so then the person can either accept or refund it. If it wasn't spam and it was a good conversation, they can refund it. Or that could literally be a revenue model for a subject matter expert, right? You could have a CME that is literally able to monetize in a marketplace for their ideas if their ideas are popular enough that people want them, kind of thing. So
it's a very free market.
We could model all of that out really nicely and open that up.
And beyond that, you could have then, once these people get, sort of their opinion becomes hyper valued enough, their own endorsement can be worth something, which is kind of a neat idea. Like somebody who's really good at X, Y, or Z can say this person's really good at that too, and that can mean something. That would also help, sort of help spread out the market for expertise, which is kind of a neat idea. So yeah, I
like it.
Love that.
Cool.
What other problems can we solve today?
Yeah, while we're at it, I just noticed that I haven't voted. I don't log into my business account as much as I am in my personal account. So I've noticed there's a bunch of GIs that this account hasn't voted for, which seems like a perfect opportunity to talk about how GIs work on Den real quick as we go through since we're in a governance call, let's do some governing. So I'm going to open up on the right-hand side. You might have noticed we have an update where there's the ability to choose whether your words are there or not on the navigation icons. So that's something that's recent. It might not seem like a big deal, but it kind of is for a lot of people. So I'm glad that that's there.
Shout out to John for getting that done.
Shout out to John Branch. Yeah. He said, I'm happy that I could be annoying enough to get that pushed through. It makes me proud. So there you go. So the governance tab, this is on the apps and on the web app on your browser. And just real quick at the top, you got a bunch of icons, right? And you can sort them by last modified or when they were created, if you're trying to look for a particular.
So is this why there is no longer a DAO governance, DENDAO governance, or there's not a 2022? There's a 2021 because
Good
then
point.
we moved to this model.
Yeah, so let me back up a little bit and get more of a bird's eye view of this. If you go out to the layers, I'm just scrolling down on the layers that I'm subscribed to here now. You've got a bunch of Den stuff, right? Den support, Den governance, Den DAO. So Den governance was our first iteration of Den governance before we had the tools in place to do the decentralized DAO stuff in a way that was very easy for people. They didn't have to be part of a multi-sig. They didn't have to be part of a MetaMask attack force or whatever, it's like, okay, just click the button. And once we had those tools, we rolled into DENDAO. And so now everything, Den Governance 21 is sort of an historical layer of just for everything's on chain. You can see what happened, all of that. But it is obsolete for DENDAO is the modern governance DAO.
It's not in
so that is very good to know. Thanks for asking, actually. I wouldn't have thought to bring that up. So with DENDAO, while we're out on the bird's eye view of things, on DENDAO, every denizen, everybody who has an account, has a vote in all of the DENDAO decisions. Even if you are not a lot holder, even if you don't own any of any layer, you still have a behavioral score. So this was an integration with an entity called Smart Ballots and a Dragon Chain, where they have this solution that Den is using to use on-chain behavioral metrics to give a voting weight, right? And so what you can do is you can just incentivize any particular thing that you generally need the community to sort of do to make things work. And the more people that do that thing, obviously the better the system runs, but also the people that are doing those things consistently or correctly, maybe, they get more of a governance weight. Right. So the behavioral score goes into, hey, who are my, you don't have to know who they are. You don't have to collect personal info. You can just say, all right, whoever's account this is, you've got this score because you've been adding liquidity, for example, in Uniswap, and we need that. Or you've been holding and matter on Den and earning lore for free so that you can actually participate and vote in the LCP. Cool. You get more of a voter, weight for that. So that's the whole platform. That's Den, that's the app, that's the dev cycle and all that. And then each individual layer has its own DAO, sort of like a sub DAO, right? Where they make their own decisions by themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that
very helpful. Thank you.
is the one I was just talking about with the Den DAO. So let's go back to these icons again. In the governance section, which is the gavel down here. At the top right, there's this dragon or phoenix or whatever you want to call it. It's the Den logo. And that's where all the Den DAO, like big picture stuff, is decided. So when you see proposals in here, it's stuff for it applies to site-wide. It applies to all the layers and the way the system works, and like we're prioritizing stuff. Like I just said, the prioritization vote is one of those. It's a DENDAO thing. And then for firearms, that would show up over on the opposite side where the flag is for layer ownership. And this is where any of the individual layers that you have any ownership in, that's where stuff will show up to vote on. And it can be simple, like this one is from Babar Rafiq in World News, to change the banner, right? So it's more of a new, it's a newer layer, newish, like actually same cycle as firearms, right? So they also need a banner. And it looks like there's a 33% to 3%-ish split on the votes. And when that hits 51% or greater than 50, it'll resolve and either be approved or denied. And when that happens, the cool thing is nobody has to go in and actually set this as the banner, right? The system just does it. It just becomes set, which is pretty cool. So I am going to demonstrate approving this. I don't know how much weight I have. All right, I got a lot. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to tip the scales on this and show you how that works. Let's go to World News. Should be able to click on that, but you can't.
This brings up, you guys started
talking right now, man. You can vote no.
Yeah, you bring up a great point, because you guys started talking about this morning on the World Blockchain Roundtable, the difference between proof of work and proof of stake. And I believe I'm going to say this correctly. Proof of stake, and maybe it was Greg that said it, kind of could lend to like he who has all the money rules the world kind of thought.
It can be, it can be framed that way relatively accurately, I think, too.
Yeah, or he who has the money makes the rules kind of thing.
It's definitely a thing where the more wealth you control, the more wealth you're likely to accrue.
Instead of like the proof of work thing where a lot of people would say that's a more fair way of doing it, is that you put work in. But then I guess people are like, well,
the providing security as opposed to a punishment for providing poor security.
Yeah, so the interesting thing there is like, so one, there's the matter of just social differences on what you find to be important, right?
Okay.
Some people don't mind if bankers own everything, for example, right? Some people don't care. They prefer it that way because they don't want to handle their own money. They don't care. Okay. But also with DEN, so we're in World News, and I don't know if you noticed while you were talking, I was just finishing the voting, and it did pass, and now it showed up. It just showed up, which is awesome. Yeah. So you could relate this to a proof of stake where all of the owners, and it's listed, I think it still is listed from greatest to least ownership, right? There is an analogy here for proof of stake because you're the owners of the DAO. On top of that system, there's the additional proof out to proof of work networks also. So it's not the same thing because it doesn't necessarily affect the consensus, that proof of work, but it at least proves what happened and when on a proof of work network. So it's an interesting hybrid kind of thing. But yeah, it's, if you take just in a vacuum, it's sort of a proof of stake. If you want to look at it that way, because the decision makers of the DAO are voting with their relative governance token weight in the same way that, business
owners, which I guess they had to do work to earn that.
Sure. Yeah. So you can't,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
You have to do work to earn it. You got to rally enough people that want the same community, right? You have to organize enough people to go into the LCP and vote. And you also have to use DEN to either earn lore for free, through a whole process of just using it. You get matter, your matter is staked, and you earn lore from it. It's just like magic. And so if you're in there and you're participating and you're part of the community, you will earn lore that you can go vote for. Now that takes a while. So an option is also to just go out and buy some, which is also supporting the community, right? So you can go to Uniswap and you can grab some lore and you can bring it in. And that helps us support economically the system going on. So you have to do something to support the vision of the system to even get in to vote on stuff, right? And then once you do, then your votes are converted to lot to ownership tokens. And then still, they're not worth anything unless you do something with the community. So you have to actually, manage your community and do stuff like that. So it is not like domain squatting and, set it and forget it. It's just a way to account fairly for all the stuff that everyone's doing. So you don't get like, so there's accountability, right? So that there's accountability.
Right. And the key difference, I think, with what you're talking about with versus like, post-merge Ethereum staking for their proof of stake system, it's going to be more like for that, where you were not even involved before, but you just want to make sure that, that now that the miners are gone, you can swoop up as much control as you want, and maybe even at some point shove the network in the direction you want it to go. Because you're now the hard fork guy, but like that is where you can just purchase passive power. And that's something that I think even Den should be careful to mitigate. Like some of the stuff you guys were talking about with making sure that owners have to do some kind of active participation in order for their voting power to count.
Yes, and there is even just because of the platform that we're built on, if something ever happens. That let's say it ruins Ethereum. Ethereum's broken, it stays broken, it gets worse broken, and all the things that are supposed to fix it end up compounding it and it falls over, right? Well, that doesn't mean that Den falls over. That just means that Den finds another network, right? Ethereum, like we have had an instance, at least maybe only once actually, but something happened with Ethereum. I don't know if it was during that whole like turn off everyone's access and like then people were having issues with MetaMask and stuff. I don't know, but Den itself didn't notice at all because it's got its own blockchain, and that is just interoperable with Ethereum. So even though it's on Ethereum, it doesn't rely on Ethereum. In other words, you can have hiccups and things can break over there, and once it comes back up, eventually it's like, okay, cool, let's catch up now, and then you can catch up. And that whole time, just to make sure nobody cheats while it's down, that whole time you're also transacting and proving everything to Bitcoin while Ethereum's down, for example. Or maybe Ethereum never comes back up and we can just be like, all right, well, that's dead. We'll just use whatever else now, We'll
Ethereum
use
Classic or
different. Yeah, Ethereum Classic is a great example, right? So like what happens if the proof of stake thing with Ethereum doesn't work out like everyone thinks? Well, Ethereum Classic's still there with proof of work just in case. And I think that's a great option, assuming miners move over to it after they lose their ability to hash out Ethereum when that transfers, because you could see people taking their hash power somewhere else.
Oh yeah, I mean, what else are you gonna do? Sell it.
Well, yeah, different stuff.
Not gonna get you much ETH after you've been much value after you've been running it for however long. You got to depreciate it. So
yeah, it's no telling. There's a lot of speculation out there about like what's going to happen with proof of work that's currently being applied to Ethereum. I think a lot of people are using stuff like NiceHash, where they just mine whatever the computer tells them to mine that's more profitable. And so if I had to predict anything, I would say whatever NiceHash decides is where the proof of work's going to go. Because people are just going to leave their GPUs plugged in and their NiceHash thing running, and all of a sudden it's going to be like, hey, now you're mining Ethereum Classic or Raven or Flux or whatever else, that kind of thing. So
there's
we'll just have to wait and see.
Probably some alpha hidden in that, depending on what the code actually likely does.
Yeah, I've never looked at it.
That's what my son does. That's what my son does. He just allows it to choose, and he said the same thing. However, I don't know if they really are choosing the best thing for them or for me or for all of us. But then his other point is, well, then I'll also do niche mining. Was it helium VNT or HNT?
Yeah, I'm getting into that myself. Hopefully sooner than later. But there's a big backlog on those like Bobcat miners and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just in case proof of stake doesn't work. That's the answer there for Den. So fear not.
Cool stuff.
All right, so let's see what's going on around the GI sphere. Firearms has a proposal to enable video posting. I have already decided that that's a good idea, so I'm just going to say, yep, sounds great. And I don't think 5% is going to be enough to kick it over 50. So it's still going to be there until somebody else votes. But if
On
you
that,
notice,
it
when I
says-
did that, it went away because I've already voted, and now I don't need to vote again, right? What's that?
On that it says details video reputation setting off to on. Does that mean that the proposal is saying enable video posting, but with the reputation setting?
I hate the way that's honestly worded, because it confused me before. So here's what that means.
Some clarification.
Yep. So if you go into settings and you go to firearms, there we go. Then, so this is where you can get into the weeds and really figure out like where the complicated stuff is, because there's stuff you can do in here like reputation, right? Now, reputation in firearms currently is turned off, but also separately from that. So that's like a global switch, right? Turn it on, turn it off. Do you want to use the reputations, or do you want to not use the reputations? If you got it turned off, then you have the layer just does or does not allow posting. The layer does or does not allow images, for example, right? And by default, it does not allow videos, right? So if you were to say, hey, in general, without changing anything else, if you come in here and you turn video on, that's how it'll show up. It'll say it'll call it a reputation change, even though it's not. Unfortunately, it's just we do need a quality of life like polish cycle basically for this kinds of stuff. And then you type in here, let's have video, just so people know what you're, maybe something more specific, just turning on the ability to post videos. Now, without getting way into it, if we turn reputation on, you might notice to the right you get extra options, right? So reputation on, what does that mean? I won't use post, I'll use video because it's a great example. So I'll use video and images, right? So you can granularly sort of decide, without picking on anybody in particular, completely fairly, objectively with on-chain data that it isn't singling anyone out. You can say, okay, you got to have this amount of reputation, this good of a reputation to be allowed to do this action. Maybe you're having a problem with people coming in and spamming videos that you don't like. And the images aren't necessarily a problem, but you want to just weed out some of the video posters, right? So both of these are set down to 1 star, right?
Okay.
And for now, I'm just going to do the layer reputation as an example to avoid some confusion. But you can say, of the 38 users right now that have at least a 1-star reputation in the firearms layer, that's what these mean, they'll be able to post video. Now you can increase the reputation requirement and you'll see the number. I don't know if you can see it on my screen or not, but as I do this, the users went down to 5. And so you can see like, all right, now 38 people will be able to post. I don't know who they are, but 38 people will be able to post videos. If I move it up to say you got to have at least a 2-star, well, now only 5 people can post videos, right? And it doesn't matter who they are. It matters their behavior is all it matters. So with new layers, you get really low numbers like that because nobody has a reputation yet, right?
Okay.
So how do you figure that out? And that's the other part, that if you don't have a reputation in that layer, it will use your site-wide reputation until you do gain a reputation in your community, right? So maybe I'm over on, I always use the flat earth layer for whatever reason that doesn't exist. It's just an example. But like I've got a stellar reputation in the flat earth layer, and I got a good reputation in the music layer. And so my site-wide reputation generally is pretty good. So you can say, okay, if anybody has a site-wide reputation of at least 3 stars, then you're not doing anything terrible apparently, and you can come in and you can post videos, right? Okay. And then the very last component of all of this, I'm trying not to make it confusing. It can be, is there's another line here that says threshold, and what that does is that decides how many pieces of content a new member of your layer or community needs to be evaluated on. Like they post content in the layer and people vote on it, right? And right now, and by default, it's 13, which means until a new community member in the firearms layer comes in and is evaluated by the community, is voted on by the community on 13 pieces of content, right? Until then, we're going to use the site-wide rep, not the layer rep, because we don't know what your layer rep is yet. And so after 13, you now have a layer rep, and it switches to that, and it ignores your site-wide, and it only cares about your layer rep. That way you can go be hated by somebody else, but it won't be affecting you in your layer, right? And that's where you can say, all right, you got to have at least a 4-star reputation in the layer. So if I do this, the way I have it set, the effect is going to be someone comes in, and I'll just give an example. Someone comes in, they got a 3-star reputation site-wide, and they start posting bullshit that the community doesn't like. Well, they'll typically get evaluated down, right? Just objectively, not mean, just like, nope, doesn't belong here. Don't even have to reply. Just, 1 down or 20 down, it doesn't matter. And if you get consensus reputation scores less than your layer rep, by the time you hit that threshold, that person's only going to be able to come in and post 13 times until they can no longer post videos. Because as soon as that hits 13, they're going to switch from only needing 3 stars site-wide to needing a really good reputation to post videos. And that way you can decide that, okay, only people that are objectively being good actors in our community should be able to post video content for whatever reason. And then that applies to any action. You can say, we don't want people voting unless they have shown that they're intelligent enough to do that. You can say, whatever your thing is, you can do that to all the different actions. So that is the rundown basically on rep settings. So I'm not going to submit this because it'll submit an additional GI. So I'm going to back out of it. And then I'll go in where we just were. I should see, right here. Cool. So if any of you have the, and I'm just going to keep doing this real quick since you're right here. If any of you are logged in and you have lot for firearms, if you haven't voted yet here, which I don't think you have, Lisa. No, cool.
I just did.
Cool. So you can tip the scales. Let me refresh. That would be the last vote that was needed. And now there's a gavel. Cool. So that gavel means it has been decided, and it has been decided for this option. The blue check mark just means that's what you voted for, right? Whether or not it won or whatever. So now that that's approved, you should be able to go into the firearms layer now and sorry, I'm going to do this manually and post a video, whereas you could not before. So /firearms. And again, because it is a consensus, like it's decided by the people who already own it, right there, add video. See, that wasn't there before. Before it was just add images, and now it's add images or add video. So it's enabled.
That's cool.
Ta-da!
That's
super cool.
Yeah, so that's how that works. Awesome.
Right.
I got to make more demos. I kind of like it.
One suggestion that I can toss into the video and photo question, just real fast, on the mobile app, it would be super cool if the photos could show up, and photos and videos could be like full tile width.
Oh, you mean like this, where you're not able to see what is actually happening with the video?
Well, we're like on the mobile view, like if you don't tap into it and you're just scrolling the feed. Yes, the photos are pretty small.
Got you.
So, and that's probably just a mobile thing. But,
well, actually, on the desktop, it's the same. You kind of click on it, just see the photo, right? Right, Dave?
Yeah. You it does feel like you're tapping it twice. The intent of that is, so if you're on your, let me go here. Let me go to just another window here.
Isn't it to properly count the view, or
there's an element of that, but also so I'm scrolling, right? If I try to vote on this here, right? It doesn't let me vote. It takes me into it. The idea is you don't know what's in here. Why would you vote on that, right? So you need to actually go into it before you can interact with it. Does that make sense? Because we want you to actually look at what's being posted, not just do a drive-by vote. However, if you're in something like the memes layer, for example, I can see the argument being made that maybe you do want to just do a drive-by vote, because a meme is a meme and all you need is a picture, and you should be able to vote right here. I don't want, it's not that hard. that's been brought up, and I can't say that I disagree with it. So,
yep, and that's also, that is coming from the fact that one of my favorite layers is the Amazing Views one. So
gotcha.
That is for sure.
So yeah, it depends on.
It might make a good option.
Yeah, it might feel better for some layers to do it this way, and it might feel better for some layers to do it a different way, to where there's only one. Like if you tap it, like right here, if you're on your phone, right? Let's say I'm on my phone and I got it. Let's see if I can do the shape. Now the buttons are at the bottom. There you go. And you got your thumb and you're scrolling through, and maybe you just want to look at that image. Well, now it takes you all the way into it, and yeah, I can see it's like one extra step. So the interesting thing about being human is there's so many different opinions on that we got to vote about it, and we got to propose about it and things like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to prioritize it, because then those things, this is why, for example, this just kind of got done with the little expandy collapsey thing, because it was able to be fit into a cycle, and it was kind of a quality of life thing. While the bigger changes, like that might be a bigger change. I don't know. That might need to be a proposal where it's then voted on. And yeah, anything, we can do anything we want, though. It's just a matter of coming to a consensus about it, if that makes sense. So let's see what else is in here. I want to just run through and vote on stuff. So world news, this is a different banner. I don't like this one as much, just because it's not, I don't like it as much. No problem. There's nothing wrong with it. So I'm going to vote it down. And then this is for world news avatar. That's fine. I don't see any issues with that. Cool. I'll vote for that.
What was the other one? I had voted for another one that I thought was more...
For world news?
Oh,
I saw two banners.
Yeah. Oh, maybe it was the banners.
Let's see. So there was the banner that we just voted in.
That one. There you go. Going back there. There you go. I didn't care for that one. I think I voted that one down, and the other one I voted up. I'm hoping that the world news becomes a kind of a habitual location for people to go get their news, as it grows. Too. But that's going to depend on denizens posting everything. There you go. That was the one I had voted on.
So, well, that's in place now. You got it.
Yeah. But it's going to, I shouldn't talk because I haven't been on Denizen. I've been online very much the last couple of weeks with this remodeling project. But anyway, if we post a lot of ongoing news events, then people are going to start going there for some news feeds.
Yeah, what do we have right now? We've got politics. Basically, is that the only news-ish spot we have?
Yeah, I kind of think so.
And maybe you don't want to talk politics. You just want to hear the news. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that this is world news, and then hopefully, as it becomes more popular and more denizens are upvoting, they can kind of parse out the fake news to the factual news, or shall we say, and Greg, it would be great to hear your opinion on this. As we know, prediction markets tend to work well in predicting the future. I would think that Den.Social in a sense is doing the same. And when you apply it to a layer such as, say, the new world news layer, and we have mass inside Den.Social, wouldn't you agree that is going to kind of, I hate to use the word herd, but kind of move the group towards more truth?
Well, it's I think there is a certain amount of intent you have to put to a prediction market before it will behave that way, right? Like it's gonna move towards what's incentivized. So if the world news layer has a modus towards truth, right? Like as in, if this thing that you voted up is later revealed to be not real, then you failed at predicting a thing that's good for this layer.
True.
And we don't really have a way to post-evaluate that to put any enforcement to it. But I think if you just stated it as like, please upvote things that you believe are important and on topic, but also accurate.
Yeah, Sean mentioned that a little bit today on World Blockchain, and I've talked to him about it before, about the concept of basically putting up collateral to kind of like, hey, look, I'm not bullshitting, and I'll put money on this that I'm not bullshitting, and it's a bounty. If anybody disproves this and proves it wrong, then you're actually incentivized to try to prove me wrong, and then you'll get that bounty. And I've listened to a couple of I guess initial thoughts on that, where you know you would have something similar. You could have something similar here, where you have a bounty on something where if it is a measurement of relative or you know a measurement of truth, right? That what can you do to to offer a like that predictive marketplace or that bounty program, kind of like a bug bounty, like a software company would do, but to just human I don't know
he was trying to name he was trying to name the site, and I think he couldn't remember it, and I was thinking he was referring to Steemit, because didn't Steemit at one time do the same kind of thing?
Steemit, I don't think so. He was referring to they had a DAO.
I think their thing was more about like,
but they didn't have that.
It was more directly related to whether people would like it.
He was talking about
reputation. I thought it was also reputation.
Yeah.
Based
for sure. It was. It was. You develop a reputation for.
It's interesting stuff.
Voting as is predicted, things will create more content that people like. You know, like it was about garnering engagement.
Sure.
Which totally works. And you know, I think the one caveat with the prediction markets and news is truth, right? Is such a nebulous concept in today's news, right? There are things that you know that depending on how you look at it are either flavors on a fact or fact itself, and you want to be careful to make sure that you didn't create an environment where people were calling something fake just because they didn't agree with it. And then siding out to Snopes or something. But
then that's something that I learn about that every day. You know, you never learn I probably will never stop learning about people.
Yeah,
you know,
it's so true.
But the idea of relative truth, it bugs me because I don't like it, because it's like an oxymoron or something, right? But true within the bounds of the page you're on, right? If you're in this, you know, here's our universe.
Right. They get the names of the people right. Was the place
within the context of a flat Earth community, you should, and if you're predicting and you're trying to earn on Den, you should vote for things that you know that community will value, even if you don't agree with it. And so the flat Earth layer would probably become like, I can see people arguing that they have proof of something because like everybody agreed with me. You know what I mean? But it's just because it's with your friends. And so of course everyone agrees with you. So you do have room for like, I don't want to say alternate facts, but basically like different
positional value proposition style truths. Like these truths we hold self-evident as opposed to it is true that I was there on this day.
Shout out to Lisa. She had to step out. So I'm glad we got that demo in while she was still able to join us.
Yeah.
So cool. Let's see. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. We've gone through the governance proposals. We've talked about Huddle Signal's airdrop. So they're doing Huddle Signal's not done with their website or anything yet, but they're actually doing they're integrating pretty tightly, it looks like, with Den. And it's not done yet. So like I don't know what the final result will be, but what it looks like is there's going to be a bunch of Den related metrics where they're going to be incentivizing people to use their Den accounts to help them build a community as well. I've said this before, but they didn't want to just go do what everybody else does. They didn't want to just go to Discord or just go to, have a community on Twitter. They wanted something decentralized, something they actually used the tech that we're trying to promote here. And so it's cool. They're using Den for that. And it's in their literature too, about how to get involved with the launch and things like that. So keep an eye on them.
What's the other new one that started? There's a brand new one that I think just, there's nothing there yet.
See you, Greg.
See you, Greg.
Yeah, there is. There's a couple of them. I
know Sticky DAO, but I'm talking about the other one. There's another one that just.
You're talking about. I think I know you're talking about Artistry DAO, probably.
Yes,
right?
Artistry DAO.
Yeah. So that one's not ready yet, and I just don't have. clarity on what I would be comfortable talking about. I know a lot of what they're doing, but I'm not. It's obviously it's pretty close because we made a layer for them, and if you can inspect that and you can see who's involved, and go from there. But it's cool. Artistry DAO.
Hey, well, this is the start of new things to come, right?
Yeah, and this is what I don't know if you've heard me go off on how I thought the bear market has actually helped yet or not, but it's just this kind of thing. It's like, instead of 1 or 2 out of 10, it's 8 or 9 out of 10 conversations are it seems like people are willing to work now instead of, because I don't know if it's because of like all of the hype and all of the like free money people were getting that they felt like they could just kick back and it'll just happen for them. Seems like people are like, oh, we got to actually build it first. If you build it, they will come, and I'm not saying that like we haven't been trying. I'm just saying that it seems like more people are wanting to come in and try. Right. So adding fuel to that fire.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yes. So go check out what Eden put out on Twitter. They have a snippet there that talks about they tag Dragon Chain, Real Denizens, and its World Blockchain Roundtable, and give that a like and a share and send it to somebody you think might care. And let's go viral with it. Let me know in the comments if there's something that I can follow up on. And when I say in the comments, I mean like in the DENDAO meeting replies. If there's something we didn't catch here.
I do have one thing, and I apologize because with this, with all this commotion in the house with this remodel, and my office is literally now the shed.
Oh, you're right outside that beach. We're on the beach. Made it back inside. I didn't see that before. I didn't notice the window was from where you were before. Okay, nice.
But in all seriousness, I've missed the last 2 DAO meetings, and I know that was the proposal about the Polygon, which I had brought up for discussion. And could we kind of discuss where are we at on that? What's going on? And
so, there was a little bit of discussion about whether it should be Polygon, whether it should be Avalanche, and like the merits of each. There was some discussion about during implementation, making sure that you're not just offloading the Ethereum transaction fee to somewhere else in the process. For example, if you relied on Polygon's bridge to just say, oh yeah, we have tokens on Polygon now, go nuts, then you would still need to bridge to Polygon or bridge from Polygon, right? So it would need to be some sort of native integration.
I'm not. Let's back up here because when you say bridge to Polygon, that's I don't think was what I was proposing per se.
No, but I guess it was just like clarification points. I think more than anything else.
Gotcha.
But I mean, just like not that it was talked about, but just to make sure that like the spirit of the proposal, you know what I mean? Just that it I don't know, the words that I can't think of.
I think I understand where you're going. Yeah. And I'll be honest with you. I'm certainly more biased to Polygon because of the lower fees, versus say Avalanche. I like Avalanche a lot.
Are they that much higher?
They're a few. Yeah, I would.
I'll have to look into that some more.
But let me say this: that Ethereum is broken because of those fees, and that's why I guess that's the push. That's the push for me, and like we have said before, I would like to see us more on a post to earn kind of, road.
Yeah. I'll tell you my thoughts on this. And this isn't representative of anything but my own thoughts. The one concern I have, and it's probably the only one, is that in the infancy, because everything in this whole the whole industry is in its infancy, but specifically in Den, in the sort of like it's just now getting DMs and it's just now getting traction and it's just now getting people to come in and create DAOs on it, right? This year. And so I do want to absolutely, we've talked about this before on coffee. Like I would like every homeless person to have a phone that can use Den to earn stuff to eat so they can go down and spend matter at the local market and get stuff, right? That's right. Part of my long-term plan.
Instead of picking up aluminum cans, they're posting on Den.
Yeah. Or not even posting.
Maybe a bad example, but yeah.
No, that's a great example.
Or evaluating content.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Helping out. Without sounding too much like an asshole, I have a concern that if we focus on that in the very beginning, which we have a little bit, right? But if we focus primarily on that objective, then there could potentially be a risk of an imbalanced economy, if that makes sense, where you have outflow of value, but you don't have the matching inflow. Now, where I think that we're getting to the point where that's not so much of an issue anymore is you do have people, and I think this is the key for any play to earn system or grow to earn or post to earn or any of that, is there are more and more places to use what you earn, the rewards, than just going to sell it, to the point where you've also got people going out and bringing external lore and external matter into the system, which balances out the outflow, right? So you have inflow, outflow. So
right now, that's what we have, though. We have an imbalance because there is no outflow.
Right. Well, there's also
and there's no outflow also because there's no demand.
Right, and there's no inflow because it's expensive to bring it in too. You have to pay the same fee. Right. Mm-hmm. So, realistically, logically, maybe theoretically is the word. If you do across the board, you have lower fees because it's on Polygon, for example. Well, theoretically, you would have less friction coming in at the same time. And so as long as there's reasons to do that, as long as there's enough stuff, let's say every month, there's a balancing act between how many layers win for free every month in the LCP versus how many layers are purchasing or paying the fee, right? There's the fee to create the one that didn't win. And also businesses and DAOs coming in doing the business to business layers where you can get say like a 20% discount or whatever the number is if you pay in matter instead of paying in ether, right? So all of these things relatively recently got put in place to where now like maybe it does actually make sense to open that up to a low fee network, so that also not just that it's easier to take matter out and to extract value, but also to inject value and bring value in, right? Yourself, but also your tokens.
Sure. And the liquidity pool on a DEX does just that, though. It
yes and no.
The market determines the price so long as there is enough liquidity of both asset A and asset B that are being traded.
That's true. Now that's if you're strictly talking about price. But when I talk about value and stuff, I'm talking more about like and economy and stuff like that, and economic scaling, I guess you could call it, would be the literal interchain contract that holds the minted Ethereum matter, so that people who are mining it can claim that matter and take it out on Ethereum. Either needs to be counterbalanced by people voluntarily bringing matter back into Den and lore back into Den, or by DENDAO releasing some of the multi-sig matter from the mining or the minting process that's held. In other words, I think you've done a lot of good work on metrics where you've tracked, I don't know if it was you or somebody else, but you were tracking certain contracts and you were seeing there's one of them where there was a balance of matter and it was going down. So every now and then it has to be refilled again, right? The more people, the more denizens that are taking matter both in as well as out, the less DENDAO has to step in and top that off so that people can get their matter out. Does that make sense?
Well, I didn't know. What do you mean that DENDAO has to step in?
Not step in so much as, okay, so for security, not all of the matter that is minted on Ethereum every day, well, once a week now, since we changed it to once a week,
right.
is available in that smart contract, in that
right for the
contract,
1,000 matter per day, right?
Right.
To cut back on the fees. Yes, I'm with you on that. Mm-hmm.
So if you, and this is, I guess this is totally public because it's just a smart contract on Ethereum, sure. But when it's minted, it goes to the multisig. Mm-hmm. It doesn't go to the interchain contract. So just in case there's something that happens, I don't think it ever will. It seems like it's good. It's not broken, but for whatever reason, something happened to that contract or Ethereum or something, I don't know, that all the eggs aren't in one basket. You don't wipe out all the matter that's ever been mined or minted. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so what you can do is you can have enough in there for people to use daily, weekly, like a lot. But then if it gets to a certain point where there's there's nothing in the bucket, then we have to go to with the multisig, we have to refill it basically from what's been minted on Ethereum. And so that's kind of how that process works. And the only thing I'm thinking of is like for scalability, it would be nice if the two directions of value flow were counterbalanced to where you never had to worry about so much you never had to do any manual processes, I guess. That makes sense. So I don't know.
I guess I don't understand that mechanics of it well enough to comment. Other than it sounds like
it isn't a problem. It's just my personal
right.
Belief,
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
We have to. People flock to places where they can gain value. That is just what we do as humans. It's not just a numbers go up thing. It's in order to pay for our substance, and that's where I guess where I'm driven is I want the masses in DIN, and I'm looking at using the carrot to pull in masses.
Yep. And
because the masses are going to help determine, like we were just talking with Greg about, prediction markets and news, and we hit more numbers, more people, more subscribers. We're retaining more subscribers, and those subscribers are evaluating more content, and more content is being pumped into the system, into DIN, and that's where I want to see. And we have such an amazing foundation.
And right now, it's more of like a side hustle thing, more than what somebody.
No, it's not even a side hustle. No, it's not even a side hustle.
Depending.
I don't see it as a side hustle at all, because there's no way to exit your MTR. But it's not a point of being a side hustle. It's a point of being a social media site that has outstanding evaluation properties or capabilities.
I also wanted to say that Ethereum gas fees ain't bad lately. At the same time, and it's still high as shit when it comes to you're paying $15, but just a couple of months ago it was at like $150. So,
right? Yeah, I mean, I paid $150. Right, but $50 is ridiculous when there's so much out there for pennies. You know what I mean?
Oh, I agree. I think that Vitalik even said if the fees went up to like 50 or 75 cents, he was like, if that ever happens, it's broken. Maybe that wasn't the number he gave, but it was some ridiculously low number.
Yeah, a long time ago, right?
A long time ago, yeah. And so it's been broken since that was, by his standards. But yeah, there's I want to do this. I just am super paranoid about how it's done, because I feel like it needs to be done at the right time.
So then, where do we get the masses to come over to DIN? How do we get the masses to come over to DIN?
Well, the whole point of
DIN is the carrot?
The carrot is that it's not a predatory system that's selling you as a product, right?
Right.
That's the carrot for me, is that DIN is a system that is not. So like if you would like to have a content network, a social network, and an app, and it's relatively easy to use, but you don't want it to be a like a traditional centralized company that's going to be capitalistic as fuck on you, to any little thing they can monetize on you and use you as slave labor. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the model for Facebook and for Reddit and for Twitter, where they sell advertising and stuff like that. The other is censorship resistance. If you need a place to discuss in your community without being tracked, for one, across different websites and stuff, or just being censored, or if you need something where you have the ability to self-govern and assign reputation to people in a fair way. Those tools themselves, the DAO governance tools, if a DAO wants to come in and invite non-crypto people in a way where, okay, here's an app where you can just click on buttons. You don't need to know anything about MetaMask and crypto or Web3, right? So there's a lot of stuff there, and it's all foundational and things like that. And then the earnings, the rewards, we want to incentivize people reinvesting those into Den so that they have a bigger presence here, so they can better manage their communities. If you stake it instead of selling it, you get free lore to spend on layers and stuff like that. And it also gives you governance weight. So I don't know, maybe we're still kind of like figuring out what you're talking about and when the right time is for that. But I think that's going to be decided by the prioritization vote is the because I don't actually know the answer when the right time is. So I think that the next step is that it's going into the prioritization list, and there's room in it for it. I just think, and I kind of like this too, because I don't like necessarily being the one that has to decide what's best for everyone.
Right.
Because maybe I'm just a straight white male in America who has it made and doesn't realize that people need things a lot worse than I realize that they need them. You know what I mean? And if that's the case, then that's what, that can be decided by the community. So I'm all for that.
Right.
But I will say it's not just about making money. It's about having a place to freely communicate that isn't going to punish you for being yourself. And that's a rare thing today.
Let me ask you a quick question. Gaming right now in crypto, we know that it's kind of in its infancy. We're not seeing those really kick-ass games like, say, a real solid Call of Duty, even though there is one getting ready to launch, but something of that nature, right? And the idea of play to earn is still not on the real big radar of, say, shall we say, the masses of teenagers. Okay, they just don't see it that way, or don't, the kind of branching out to the idea of, wait a minute, I just spent $100 to get this great sword or something like that, and now it's an NFT and I can trade it. They're just starting to wake up to that concept. So this idea of play to earn in gaming world is still new and fresh, and I don't think it's truly tested yet.
No.
So having said that, do you still think, though, that is an incentive for people to go? Example, Axie Infinity.
Great example. Yeah, it's a
and it blossomed, it blew up in size quickly.
Axie is what I was thinking about a little bit, actually, when I was talking about it, making sure you have plenty of things to do with that token, making sure that you understand what you're doing with the inflation rate and things like that. That's why Den is capped at 1,000 matter per day, right? No matter what the scale of the user base is, if you want to call it a user base, no matter how many denizens come in, you get 100 million people on here.
It's a scarcity principle, and I love it. I love the scarcity principle.
A day. So you don't inflate the currency out of existence, kind of what happened with Axie Infinity. So play to earn.
Axie Infinity was play to earn. That was its
That was its main draw. So what do you get with that? You get people who specifically are coming in to extract value out of your project, right? Whether or not it's an honorable thing, it always is when somebody needs to eat for them to go and work and make, earn money. And if you're playing a game and earning from it, you're working and earning a reward for it, right? You're doing that for yourself, and that's great. But I think where you have to be careful is the same thing about what I've done in the past is I've sort of chased the hype a little bit, if you want to call it that. But like everybody's like, oh, I love NFTs. Oh, we got NFTs. You want to go NFTs? Hey, I love play to earn. It's like, hey, we're post to earn. It's P2E as well. What's up? but you're getting people that specifically want to cash you in for fiat, for better or for worse, right? And maybe that's great because they want to go buy food for their family, or maybe they want to go buy a Lamborghini, and that's not helpful for you,
right.
Or even like it doesn't even make you feel good. Great, you got a Lambo. Why didn't you just go give somebody else some food? Dude, come on.
Or
so I want to get people. I want to get people that are really interested in privacy for privacy's sake. I want to get people that are really into autonomy and not autonomy, but like self-sovereignty for self-sovereignty's sake.
So there you go. The people that are like, say, on Reddit and Telegram, those people are primed for here. They're primed to come to DEN.
So those people, in my opinion, would counterbalance the people that are here because they need to earn, and they need to take that out. They need to cash it out. They're not going to stake it, right? Staking it helps DEN. Pulling it out doesn't necessarily hurt DEN, but it doesn't help DEN either, right? It isn't one of those tasks that we're incentivizing.
Well, hold on. If it comes out and it's flooding the market, the price is going to go down. But how is that going to hurt DEN?
It isn't necessarily going to hurt DEN. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't necessarily hurt it. It just doesn't help it in the way that we're trying to incentivize keeping value in DEN, if that makes sense.
No, because sorry, it doesn't make sense. I guess because I'm measuring it as a price of the token, maybe.
Oh, okay. So price. Let's see. So based on the price of the token, then let's, for argument's sake, let's say number go down bad, number go up good. Generally, if you have more people taking value out of DEN to sell it, and it's a free platform where you don't have to bring anything in to earn that value, and it's a sweat equity thing, right?
Right.
You have to make sure that your business is modeled in a way that can support that. Otherwise, you're going to have digging out the foundation, which is great. You know what I mean? There's your rewards. That's awesome. But you have to have the supporting structure too, like people that aren't starving need to be here to help out their fellow people and create a community, because those are the kinds of people that are going to bring value in.
Gotcha. So let me recap it this way. So we have DEN with amazing capabilities and has tremendous value because of those capabilities, but MTR has scarcity, but that value isn't being translated into price of the MTR token because there's not enough outside of DEN demand for it.
And this is where I think that possibly something like going to Polygon could work extremely well in our benefit. It could work the opposite of what I'm fearing. It could be that, right now there's friction. It could be very well that if you remove friction, more people are going to bring matter in to use it in DEN for something like, the LCP process ended. My layer didn't win, but you know what? I'll go grab 800 matter because it's cheap right now, and I'll spin up that layer. That kind of thing. People are going to be less likely to do that if they also have to pay 15, 20, 50 bucks to get it in here. So that's where maybe I'm wrong, that kind of thing.
Or let's take the person on Reddit that likes to post in, I don't know, spam recipes category on cat, and say, I post all of these great recipes. I wish I was getting some kind of reward for it. Wait a minute, what's this Den.Social? I can own the spam category. You know what I mean?
Be Mr. or King Spam, yeah.
yeah. And so bad choice of
that's all right. I used to eat sandwiches in the Navy all the time. I'd break out some spam and go to the galley and grab some. I get like waffles and egg and spam. And
My
cheese on it. We're good.
My wife likes spam and bean tacos and fixes it for our teenagers. So anyway, so someone out there in Reddit land is going, man, I'm doing all these postings. I love this, category, but I'm doing all this work and I'm not getting paid for it. And then ding, 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 ding. All right, there's this Den.Social and I can own the category, which is called a layer. You know what I mean? That's powerful.
Reddit proved that people will do so much work for free if they like it and if they're getting a valuable community interaction out of it, if it's valuable for them personally,
Right.
I remember a friend of mine was a mod on the dreadlocks subreddit on Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like somebody brought that up to me. I was like, oh, so-and-so, she's a mod over on dreadlocks. And it was like, holy crap, she's a mod? It's a big layer or a big subreddit, Like it's one thing to be a mod on a, like nobody cares, sub, but she's a mod on a big subreddit. That's clout. That's a lot. That's cool. Wow, that's cool. But that's it. It's just wow, cool. That's it. Oh, you get imaginary karma points, just like you were talking about with gaming, where you're getting like, I play a lot of games. And I get paid in imaginary game money all the time, right? But I don't own those tokens, and the character that I have is not mine. I don't own it. Blizzard Activision just released a new Diablo game where it'll cost you $150,000 to totally max out, spec out your character, because it's all like in-game purchases and different sort of like they're using just like traditional gaming stuff, and you don't even own it. It's not even yours. You know what I mean? Like it's an NFT at all. It's nothing's able to be yours after you've just dumped all that money in it. Yeah. So it's sort of like a better way to do that, where if there's people going to be here working on building communities anyway, I think that's the key, is to get the people that are not. And this is, I guess, why I like Den so much in the beginning, is because if it's going to work, it's going to have to work to where people that don't care about crypto find immense value in it, so that people who do care about crypto have a bigger economy for that to not matter so much.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have
best of both worlds. Best of both worlds is what you're
worlds. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, chicken or egg, that's the problem, right? How do you get to the point where you have both of those things without maybe implementing one of them, which doesn't have enough of the other, and then it just stagnates, right? Yeah. I don't want that. So. Yeah. So I don't know, a little bit of, I guess that's, to be honest, a little bit of pushback on the Polygon thing. But the more I talk about it, the more I'm talking myself into it, because it's like, mm-hmm. you really would like to have people, especially if there's a DEX that didn't cost a fee. Because and I don't want to spend a whole much more time on this, but what's the,
I use Quicksilver. It's the biggest DEX on Polygon. And, I'm trading for 2 cents, 5 cents.
Right. So this is what I'm saying. Is like, if you theoretically,
or 1 cent.
And by the way, LCP is open, just a shout out, for July. If you go into the layers and find the LCP layer, you can propose a new layer. Yeah. But that out of the way, let's say, for example, craft beer was eligible to be created by paying a 400 matter fee, right?
Right.
It's probably far more likely that somebody will want to do that if they can spend 4 cents as a transaction fee on the DEX to grab some fee points, right? And then pay another 2 to 4 cents or whatever to then get it into Den, and then they can apply it for free, instead of going to Uniswap, paying $50,
mm-hmm. Then another $50
just for the privilege, $50, and then you got your fee points now, and then you got to bring them into Den still. So it's just like, there's $50 again, because of Ethereum. So I think that the friction working in both ways is the counter argument against my concerns.
Sure. What's the argument to restrict layer growth? And are we going way over time here? Are we good?
I mean, well, actually, I had a meeting and then I got canceled, and now it's on again. And I don't know. I do have to get out of here at some point.
Well, we can cover that question later.
No, that's a good question. And in a nutshell, it is so that we have demand for what gets created, instead of people coming in and squatting on a domain. Right.
Gotcha. So and then you only got 5 followers in this, or subscribers, and it just sits there and does nothing. Gotcha.
For example, you'll notice we just got a community DIY layer.
Right.
I'm willing to bet that the reason we have that in the first place is because early on we did give a B2B layer to one person called Maker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. I remember you talking about that story.
Great friend of mine, cool dude, love the guy to death, but he doesn't really want to do anything with it except squat on it. Right. Mm-hmm. And so the idea is that to avoid that, right?
Sure.
Because now it's like, oh, you know what? That's a great domain maker. That's a great layer name, and now you own it, and you don't even want to like let anybody else like chip in and own part of it with you. Screw that. We're going to make our own, DIY layer. Mm-hmm. So part of that is just to make sure that there's demand for it when it gets created.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
Cool. Well, yeah, man. Thanks for the conversation. I'll meet up with you in the reply section of that. I do have that draft proposal up in the DENDAO layer, I think.
Cool. So, and I apologize. I haven't been on the last couple of weeks, and
it's all good. It's
moving my office twice is not a comfortable thing.
Yeah,
dealing with other things, you know how it is.
Yeah, I know how it is.
So hey, you liking that I'm out of the closet now?
You're out of the closet. You said it. All right. Well, I'll see you in the eroticism layer. You can show it off.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Yeah.
It's not related to that, but could be, I guess. Anonymous postings coming right along. I don't have any more of an update than that, except that it's coming right along, right? I don't think that it's going to be much longer, and it's going to be cool to be able to support potentially even, I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? All kinds of business models that can go with that.
That's why I thought about it when I thought about the eroticism layer, because I was thinking like an actual adult content creator studio could open a layer and then give out the lot tokens to everyone who worked for them or with them or whatever, and then you could enforce anonymous only inside the layer to where you actually can't post unless it's anonymous. And the interesting thing with that is that whenever you do that, because it's anonymous, Den doesn't know who mined that matter in that layer, right? So we can't reward the person for it. So all of it, 100%, just goes to the lot holders.
Right.
So you can actually run you would be incentivized to at least allow anonymous posting, because any matter mined by an anonymous poster 100% goes to the lot holders, which is another interesting spin on different ways to game the system. And the key is to make it gameable, but but design that way to where you do want to gamify it to try to game the system, that kind of thing.
Outstanding.
Cool. Hey, thanks again. I'm going to get out of here and see if I'm missing anything on that other meeting, but I will. For sure. So just reminders would be that I'm starting a new show on Monday. There's a pilot episode tentatively scheduled for 10 a.m. Monday morning in the cannabis layer. So that'll be interesting. I will be on Coffee with Den every Wednesday still at 9. And then Joe Roach, the founder and architect of Dragon Chain, will be doing Super Happy Dragon Lucky on Tuesday. That airs at 11 a.m. Eastern. And the World Blockchain Roundtable, I don't think he'll be in next week, but typically that's hosted by, that's a rotating host now. So that's hosted by whoever hosts it next week. And that'll be in the World Blockchain layer. So keep an eye out for those. Keep an eye out for welcome the new denizens as you see them. Maybe they'll pop into the introduction layer, maybe not. But just, keep an eye on, there's new people coming in, and I love to see it. So thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Thanks to you.
Likewise.
And, I will see everyone next time. Cheers.
See ya. Cheers.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best. Adaptable, raw capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible, but that conclusion is laughable. So with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now.